Hello, I'm Ian Scales, you're watching TelecomTV, and today I'm interviewing Daniel Gurrola. Daniel is the VP Consumer Strategy at Orange. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you, Ian. Happy to be here.
Daniel, we're in the run-up to Mobile World Congress. It's a couple of weeks away, and as usual it's going to be one of those hyper shows with loads of people trying to sell things to each other and loads of handsets and so on. But actually underneath all of that, this is a show about telco strategy. It's an exhibition and a conference about telco. So I want to go a little bit back to basics and ask you a little bit about telco strategy here in 2014. Tell me a little bit about some of the difficult areas that operators are facing now.
Thank you, Ian. I think that's a very relevant question, especially these days, where operators are thinking about what is a role in this space, what is a relevance in this space. So some of the bright spots that are going on is data is still growing. And our issue is that we need to find ways to monetize data. Now, we are doing that with 4G, so 4G is a key element of the strategy. Smartphone penetration and democratization of smartphones is an element of this. Now, underlying all this in the new world of telecoms is how are we relevant to our consumers? And this is the challenge that we're facing right now.
Okay, that's clear. So tell me a little bit about some of the bright spots.
Data is still growing. And there's still more way to go. That's the good news. 4G, we are still deploying 4G, and the take-up and the consumer feedback is great in this space.
Now, I know one of the things you want to talk about is this idea of trust. Tell me how trust plays into your strategy.
Ian, as we move into the next wave of growth, more and more of our products will be digital. More and more of our products will involve partnerships and working with others as well. That means an incredible amount of data is going to be generated. Much of that is personal data. And consumers need to trust that those who are entrusted with that information are using it responsibly and in transparent ways. We believe that that space is a very important area for us and that telcos have a role to play in this area.
Now, I know you've just completed a study. Tell me what you've learned from that study about this concept of trust.
Right. So we issued the Future of Digital Trust study, and that study actually showed a few elements of interest. One, 78% of the consumers show that they believe that players should have too much information. 82% do not know what happens to this information. 70% they see that there isn't anyone they can see as acting as a champion in this space. Mm-hmm. More worryingly, 94% of the people surveyed stated that they believe that the balance of benefits has gone too far away from them, and now is more those who hold the data that are benefit more than they in exchange of that information they're providing.
So in other words, there's currently a lack of trust by users in the people that currently look after their data.
That's correct. Not only we uncover that, but we uncover that this issue is across the industry as a whole, from financial institutions all the way to social networks.
Okay, so what are you going to do about it? I understand you've developed a charter.
That's right. So at the Hello Show, our CEO, Stéphane Richard, issued our commitment to our customers, and that's what's in the data protection charter that we unveiled at that stage. The basic tenets of this is consumers own their own data. We will be using the data responsibly and only with their express and explicit approval. We will be much more transparent about the data usage, and we will not sell the data without any approval from the consumers.
So do you think that people trust telcos more than they trust institutions like banks or even Google to look after their data and not abuse it?
Well, the research shows that this is a real problem for the industry as a whole. Within that, operators fare relatively well, but when I say relatively well, really starting from a low base that the whole industry is going, and that's unfortunately deteriorating. We believe that telcos are actually by association tainted by the recent scandals that have been in this space and so forth. This is why we're taking action. In Orange in particular, we want to take action in this space.
Give me an idea of the sorts of services you can see yourselves launching off the back of this trust.
Well, Ian, we believe that in order to gain trust, first of all, we believe that trust is a cornerstone for the uses of new digital services. So going forward, most of our digital services would actually involve a take-up that involves some sort of trust in our services. But the key elements of what we're doing is, first of all, is we need to act in terms of education, transparency, and control. So one of the things that you're going to be seeing from us, in addition to the Data Protection Charter, which is our commitment, we're going to see a launch of an application by 2015 in all our markets across the Orange Group, where we give visibility to our consumers about how their data is being used. The next wave of services will involve helping our consumers actually act upon that data, how they want it to be used.
Can you give us the main tenets of that charter?
Well, Ian, first of all, this is the recognition that consumers own their own data. And this is supported by 4 pillars, and they are security, the way we protect customer data. Number 2, control. So we are issuing a dashboard, personal data dashboard, where consumers can manage their own data. Transparency, we'll be much more transparent about how the data is being used. And fourthly, supporting our customers navigating through all this space.
Will the data and your behavior actually be audited by anyone?
Well, the first thing is we have made a commitment to to our consumers in general, and we have made a commitment to the European Union that we will be doing this. Secondly, we are working with the industry as a whole through the GSMA to ensure that this is not just an Orange, but also the industry as a whole takes a hold of this.
So how important are these services going to be for the industry as a whole going forward?
Ian, we believe the next wave of growth, this is the key element of the next wave of growth. This is one of the enablers, if you will, that will be either making it or breaking going forward. So data is one thing, but data as a whole can put operators in a position of being the ones that access providers. But if you want to go to the services layer, and if you want to do more interesting things and help consumers navigate in this space, trust will play a cornerstone in this space.
Daniel, thank you very much.
Thank you.